Hello there, very good morning to you and welcome back to Morning Express. We're glad you're watching. It is Thursday, the 26th day of March 2015. This afternoon, President Uhuru Kenyatta will deliver his second State of the Nation address. And of course, it comes at a time or in the backdrop of rising corruption. We've seen that affecting committees in Parliament as well as other sectors in the country, something he's talked tough about. And some of the things we'll be talking about with my guests this morning that I'll be introducing to you shortly. Of course, it's the third time, though, he has addressed to both houses of Parliament, the last being late last year, just before he headed out to The Hague to attend proceedings again before his case was terminated. But before we get to introduce my guest and to our discussion this morning, we want to just have an indication of what a cross-section of Kenyans feel, what they expect, what they want their president to address this afternoon as he addresses the nation. And this is views from parts of Mombasa, Eldoret, and here in Nairobi as well. Let's take a listen.
Wakati huu security haijaingia laini, watu wako na njaa, wanatafuta maji na security hakuna. Ningependa rais address security hasa kwa Baringo, na sio Baringo ya peke yake. Tukiona hata nje ya Mandera wakati hii walimu wanaambia warudi huko na security haijakuwa. Kama wanaweza piga gavana, itakuwaje mwalimu ila ana kinga yoyote?
Azungumza juu ya mambo ya corruption. Juu corruption inaharibu serikali, jina ya serikali. Na wale wakubwa wale wametajwa kwa corruption wafungwe, kama huyu kijana wa aliyekuwa rais wa Senegal amefungwa juu ya corruption. Kitu kama hiyo aongee, na ndio jina ya serikali yake iwe mzuri ya kwamba alikuwa anafanya kazi ya kumaliza corruption.
Habari ya kura, ningeomba rais asimamishe mambo ya kutumia pesa ya watu wanatumia kutumika pesa ya umma kuja kufanyia kampeni mtu ambayo inachakua na jamii yao, na akawa kuna competition. Isimamishe competition ya kuwa sisi tunapochakua msimamizi kama ile akajado, kuna watu wengine ana support mtu ambayo sio wa Masai wanapenda. Sisi tangu serikali ya Kenya kuchukua udhamu ya uhuru, sisi hatujai kupigana tukipiga kura. Kwa hivyo ningeomba rais, hiyo pesa inatumika kalipe walimu mshahara na kulipa madaktari.
Kwa campaign walituahidi ya kwamba watafight na ufisadi. Na tukiangalia pesa mingi yenye inapotea wa Kenya inapotelea kuhusu corruption. So ningependa wa fight vile wenye wanaweza fight corruption hapa Kenya, and then kufight na kitu kingine ambayo inaitwa impunity. Wakenya wanafanya makosa, especially big people, na hawafanyi chochote.
Should consider is things like unemployment, because you find so many Kenyans who have they have the capability of doing work but they don't have the employment.
Ile promise yake ya laptops kwa watoto wa shule na pia kazi kwa vijana. Pia ningependa tena ataje mambo na vile atasaidia wakulima kwa upande ya majani chai, upande ya mboga, upande ya kahawa na zingine mengi.
All right, some of the issues close to Kenyans had ahead of that State of the Nation address by President Uhuru Kenyatta this afternoon: security, corruption, impunity, public resources being used for political campaigns, unemployment, those laptops that were promised, we all remember those, and agriculture, some of the things Kenyans they're hoping the president will touch on today. Joining me in studio to talk more about this, what to expect, where we are at as a country. On my immediate left is Onyango Lo, who's TNA Secretary General. Next to him is John Badi, Chairman, ODM. We also have with us Beatrice Elachi, who's Majority Whip in the Senate, and Barack Muluk, who's a political commentator. Lady, gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning. I'll begin with you, Onyango Lo. According to you, and the same question to all, what is the state of Kenya?
Thank you so much, Sophie. We must accept that we are living in truly trying times. There are, of course, challenges that have been facing the government as currently constituted, but generally the government has committed to remedying situations that were hitherto a bit untoward. And currently, as we are talking, we can see improvement in areas of security that at the time the Jubilee Commission got into power had deteriorated so badly. Heads have rolled, departments have been shaken. We have areas to do with healthcare. For the first time, we are seeing the government is sending equipment to county hospitals to ensure that our people live better lives. We are looking at areas of agriculture, which is the backbone of this economy. The government has committed to supplying subsidized fertilizers, etc., etc. But of course, the challenges remain in areas of corruption, in areas of security, but there are solid steps being taken. For the first time, we have seen the suspects in Anglo leasing scandal being arraigned in court. For the first time, we are seeing the head of state saying that his government is committed to unearthing even old corruption networks to ensure that we live in a country that is safe and secure to all of us, and where corruption is not condoned.
All right, Barack, I'll come to you. State of the nation. What is the state of Kenya?
I think the nation is in poor health because what the president is going to do is basically to give a health report where we are these past 2 years. There are people who are dying of famine, ravages of famine, which have become cyclic. Every year we know about that it's going to happen, and it is happening. At the same time, we have got farmers who have got maize that they don't know what to do with. That corruption has run helter-skelter. It's now virtually everywhere in every institution. Institutions that should be the watchdogs have become wild dogs. That needs to be addressed. That the public works, which we were witnessing under the President Kibaki regime, have ground to a halt without any clear indication of where we are going. That youth unemployment is at an all-time high, and while the government had some very good intentions, like I think the Uwezo Fund was a very noble thing, but which has not been actualized. I think they never thought it through. That promises were made on things like secondary school education, because we were told that the government was going to put in place a free secondary school education. Both CORD and Jubilee made that promise. We know today that it's not even secondary school kids, but primary school kids
so for you it's
were being sent home. I think let us begin by accepting the correct diagnosis that we are in a poor state of health.
Okay.
It's only then that we can do something.
We can do something.
Move forward.
Senator.
Thank you. I think I'll start by saying that within the 2 years that we have seen the Jubilee government coming into a new dispensation that we had put in, and I think one of the things they have been able to achieve or to see it through is to ensure first we had the new structures of devolution. We are coming into a situation where now you are giving funds to devolved units, but at the same time getting into challenges that were within the Grand Coalition, and therefore you must deal with those challenges as you move on. When you look at the security sector, I know it's a sector where we've had the biggest challenge as the Jubilee government. It's not a challenge for Jubilee alone, but a challenge for all of us Kenyans. And I always say that there's one thing as Kenyans, I know we are used to really lamenting and looking at only the challenges. But it's time we look at character as a country in all institutions. And that's why when you look at the issue of graft, when you talk about corruption, you cannot just say corruption within Jubilee government. It's a corruption that we've carried for at least the last 24 years, that we have seen our country, as much as it's so blessed with a lot of resources, because you'll see things work, but at the same time you'll wonder, are we for real? All of us. And I always say, when I come on studio, when we talk about corruption, and now it has entered into even our institutions of parliament, and it has not entered. I mean, the only problem we have here is we don't say the truth. Parliament, let's say today we have an opportunity, and I want to thank the National Assembly that they were able to bring in a bill, say we want to censor Muturi, but they were able to talk about it, that it's not Muturi. Here we are, we have a problem of ourselves within our institution, and not just the monies we get in committees, even in the maintenance. Now go to government, then go to our primary schools. We talk about, as Jubilee, yes, we have done what we have done best. I know we have an issue of the laptops that people are saying, but I want to promise them now, and my colleague here knows very well, every primary school now is lighting up.
Electricity.
Yes.
And we'll get to those nitty-gritty details, yes.
We'll see the project now move in a better way.
Okay, let's hear your thoughts, Chairman.
For me, I think the state of the nation is worrying. It's worrying because I think in 2010, when we passed the constitution we have today, we had a lot of hope. Optimism was high. I think as high as it was immediately after 2002 general election. But where we are at the moment is worrying because first, Nyongolo has talked about security. That security, they inherited the insecurity from the other regime, and it has improved. I want to tell him that immediately Jubilee came into power, yes, there was insecurity, but it increased to an alarming rate. In fact, for the first time in the history of this country, we had a lot of insecurity incidences that has never been reported previously. But as we speak today...
And you associate that to the Jubilee government coming into power? I am saying that a lot has not
been done in terms of curbing insecurity. I'm not saying it has started with the Jubilee administration, but when new governments come into place, we expect change. And that is why we vote every 5 years, so that if things are not working, then they are sorted out.
So with the changes at the security docket, IG, cabinet secretary as well, are you feeling that things are changing?
For me, it is not the question of changing people and changing leadership. It is a question of having insecurity fixed. And that is, I have not seen that. Even yesterday, you saw what happened.
So what do you expect to see?
Sophia, if you just allowed me an opportunity like you did to my colleagues, then I think this debate would be of more value. So first of all, I have said that the insecurity incidents are still being reported as they were previously. The fact that there could be some lull at some point does not mean things have improved. Yesterday, you saw what happened in Kakamega, and it happens every day, Mandera and even in our villages. So the insecurity in this country, to me, has not improved much. I mean, in terms of corruption, this is something that we expect the new administration to come up with very clear and concrete. If you look at the Jubilee manifesto and fight against corruption, where they even said that they will be taking away assets of people who are accused of corruption. They said there would be zero tolerance to corruption. We don't see it. The president talks about it, says even that there is corruption in his office, and you don't see even a single officer sacked from his office. Then that is really, to me, worrying. The other thing, if you look at, really, today's address to the nation is a constitutional requirement. And the Constitution clearly spells out what needs to be addressed, and that key of which is the national values. One of the key elements of national values is national unity. And this country, in my opinion, is more divided than it was in 2012. And therefore, something really needs to be done by Jubilee administration to fix things. Things are not getting fixed. We talked about the agricultural sector. It is one thing to give those fertilizers and what have you, but it's another to have farmers get market for their produce. Just the other day, the farmers from the North Rift their produce was rejected in Kisumu. They have nowhere to sell their produce. How then do you say that the administration is concerned about agriculture if you are not concerned about the marketing of the same? Thank you.
All right, and we'll go issue by issue because security, huge concern for many people, corruption as well. Something you've mentioned there about the state of the union in terms of a country. Ole Kaparo, the chair of NCIC, the other day said the country is doing worse now than in the last 2 years and before. But let's start with security. And Secretary General, let me start with you. There are a few changes that have been made here and there, but there's still quite a number of structural issues. What is it, as a party of the coalition that's in government now, must be done, we need to see happen to change things for the better in terms of security?
Thank you so much, Sophie. First, with the matters of security, you remember when we gave ourselves the new constitution, we had hoped that it would be a constitution that would serve us very effectively, even in security matters. We gave a lot of powers, and we were coming out of what we would call was a kind of a dictatorship. And people believed that these offices ought to be very independent. In the rush to give these offices independence, we almost completely detached them from the executive control. That is one of the serious structural weaknesses that we ended up with, where we found ourselves in a situation that the Inspector General, for instance, could not just transfer his officers where he wanted them, could not just reorganize his department, and most importantly, and quite alarming, we had a situation that the head of state could not actually crack the whip on the Inspector General in this matter of security, for instance. Now, these are issues that actually, if we only address them in terms of removing A to replace him with C, may not see a complete change into our approach. And towards the end, a few months ago, you saw the Jubilee government trying to bring amendments to the security legislations to ensure that at least the executive had enough muscle to impact on security apparatus. Of course, some sections have since been declared illegal by the courts, but issues that have to be reorganized. We have to give power to those we give responsibility to sort out our issues of security. But more important also, of course, is looking at the individual. Human resource cannot be ignored. We must look at officers who are competent enough, people who understand their responsibilities, and then equip them with what do I say? Equip them properly so that they are able to execute their responsibilities. Crime has taken or advanced to a given stage. The technological advancement have come with its own unique challenges. We have to equip our officers and ensure they are able to cope up with these areas. So technology, human resource, and the law are areas that have to be addressed effectively. And here we look forward to the parliament as a whole, and not Jubilee government per se, playing a role.
Baraka, what do you say to that? Because it's been in the aspect of the law especially.
There are two things here. One is the philosophical basis upon which government is founded, and the other one is a question of what one may then want to say is the wider context. The philosophy, in the sense that it's about trying to create an illusionary duopoly, a government of two communities, and which is an illusion because it's not really a government of two communities. It's a government of elite fellows who pretend that they represent the two communities and that it's therefore their government. And on the basis of that, you have got square pegs in round holes. We had Ole Lenku in office for a long time. You did not require any special law or constitution to remove Ole Lenku, who was completely ineffectual. But the philosophy that informs the arrangement is that I brought these people from my cluster of tribes, or from my tribe, and you have brought this one. You're not going to remove this person without my consent, and I have to find the right person from my tribe to come and fit in this job. And you have people who have got absolutely no clue about what they are supposed to be doing in those offices. We wish the new IG the very best, but we know that he had to frog leap about 300 senior persons to him within the police force. And we also saw just how long it did take to put that in place. Then the corruption is really the problem here that we should be
and we'll get to that,
addressing. But I want to address it relative to insecurity.
Okay.
And the issue here is that there are all these floodgates that have been opened for the wrong people to get into the country. The surveillance system is therefore not working. That we have got a spy system that is not working, and it's because of corruption. Where do these people come through? The ones who have been hitting us all over the place. Somebody ought to know that something is about to happen, that wrong people have entered the country. You look at the Chinese people who are found with very complex gadgets in a Nairobi estate. How did they get inside here with all those things? Somebody allowed them to do that. I saw the other day with my own eyes at the airport in Mombasa on the 18th of this month, a man who is being frisked, and then he's taken away by these fellows. A few Kenya shillings exchanged later, he boards the plane. This particular individual, I think, was a good person, but he had to part with money. I was there. And I put it on Twitter immediately that I have seen this happening. I copied it to the IG. He has not called me to ask me, Barack, what was this that was happening in Mombasa? If you think of that happening virtually everywhere in the country, we see where the insecurity is coming from.